Hello everyone. So today in the subject Cost and Management Accounting 3, it is a program of BCom, subject Commerce, semester 5th semester, University Mangalore, session 24. So today in this particular session, we are going to concentrate on process costing. Under process costing, we are concentrating on concept of normal loss, concept of abnormal loss, and concept of abnormal gain. Now, before going to the actual content in this particular session, let us recall whatever we have studied in the previous session. So, in the previous session, we have discussed about the advantages of process costing and disadvantages of process costing. Before going to the content, let us know what is the learning objectives. It is to understand the concept of process costing, to know the calculation of normal loss or abnormal gain, to understand the application of accounting procedures for manufacturing business, and lastly, determination of the cost of production. Session outcome. So, what we'll be studying after we go through for this particular session is we will come to know the concept of normal loss, and also we will be able to understand the concept of abnormal loss, and also we will come to know the concept of abnormal gain. So, coming to the actual content of this particular session, let us first understand what is normal, a concept of normals. Okay, normal process loss is that loss or wastage which is unavoidable on account of inherent nature of material. It arises due to shrinkage, evaporation, chemical reactions, cuttings, spoilage, etc. Such loss can be estimated in advance on the basis of past experience. Normal process loss may include scrap or wastage, whereas wastage has no value but scrap has some value which is recoverable without further processing. The normal process loss is recorded only in terms of quantity, and the cost per unit of usable production is increased accordingly, where scrap possesses some value as a wastage product or as raw material for some other process. The value thereof is credited to the process account. This reduces the cost of normal process loss shared by ಯೂಸೇಬಲ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಏನು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು ಯೂಶುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗದಿರುವಂತಹ ಲಾಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಕರ್ ಆಗೋದು. ಸೊ ಈಗ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ನ ರಾ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಫಿನಿಶ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂತ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಲಾಸ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಅದನ್ನ ವೇಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ವಿಚ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ಅನ್ಅವಾಯ್ಡಬಲ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ಅವಾಯ್ಡೇಬಲ್. ಅದು ಆಗೋದನ್ನ ತಪ್ಪಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಆನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಹರೆಂಟ್ ನೇಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್, ಸೊ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿಲ್ಲದಿದ್ರು ಅಥವಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇಟ್ ಅರೈಸಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು, ಯಾಕೆ ಅದು ಅರೈಸಸ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಶ್ರಿಂಕೇಜ್. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೇ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ರಾ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಶ್ರಿಂಕೇಜ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಇವಾಪರೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹವೆ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂಡ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಏನಾರಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಸ್ಪಾಯ್ಲೇಜ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ, ಈ ತರದ್ದು ಸಚ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಟೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ಅಡ್ವಾನ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ದಿ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದಿನ ವರ್ಷದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಸೆಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಮೇ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಸ್ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಆರ್ ವೇಸ್ಟೇಜ್, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸ್ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಅಥವಾ ವೇಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. whereas wastage has no value but scrap has some value which is recoverable without further processing. So we are not going to do any further processing. Then coming for the next paragraph, the normal process loss is recorded only in terms of quantity. So ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಲಾಸ್ ನ, ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಯೂಸೇಬಲ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ಡ್ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ that is cost per unit will be always increasing accordingly in the normal loss. And whereas where scrap possesses some value as a wastage product or a raw material or as a raw material for some other process, the value thereof is credited to the process account. So we are going to credit the value in the process account. This will be going to reduce the cost of normal process loss shared by usable units. And now coming for the next particular point in normal loss. Normal loss may be in the form of normal wastage or normal scrap or normal spoilage. Wastage generally has no recovery value. It is often invisible. Scrap is visible. Usually it has some monetary value recoverable without further processing. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಪಾಯ್ಲೇಜ್ ರೆಫರ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ those units which are damaged in the course of manufacturing process. They cannot be rectified. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ in this particular point they are going to explain you that normal loss also can be in the form of two aspects, that is normal wastage ಮತ್ತೆ normal scrap or normal spoilage. ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಸಹ ನಿಮಗೆ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಲಾಸಿಗೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು effects. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ wastage generally has no recovery value. In your wastage there will be no recovery value. It is often invisible. Scrap is visible and usually it has some monetary values. Monetary values irutte recoverable without further processing. So spoilage refers to those units which are damaged in the course of manufacturing process. So that is also cannot be rectified. And next point is normal loss is regarded as the part of the cost of production. ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. It is absorbed by good units produced. Thus, the cost of good units is inflated to the extent of normal loss. However, if normal loss unit have some realizable value, such a value is credited to concerned process account. Now again another point relating to your abnormal loss concept is any loss caused by accidents, substandard materials, carelessness or loss in excess of the normal process loss should be regarded as abnormal process account, and abnormal loss should not affect the normal cost of production. Therefore, abnormal loss is valued just like good units and transferred to a separate account called abnormal loss account. The abnormal loss account does not arises on account of nature of the production process. It can be controlled by taking corrective steps. So here it is this type of particular point, like abnormal loss ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. And coming for the next point, the treatment of abnormal loss differs from that of treatment of normal loss. So treatment of abnormal loss will be that is treatment will be differs from that of treatment of normal loss. Abnormal loss is not charged to good units manufactured, but abnormal loss is valued just like good units. And now you can see this concept of abnormal loss. It can be calculated in this way, that is value of abnormal loss is equal to normal cost of normal output divided by normal output into units of abnormal loss. So this will be discussed when the problems will be given. This particular formula will be discussed over there. And coming for the next concept, that is abnormal gain, margin allowed for normal loss is an estimate only, and slight differences are bound to occur between the actual output of a process and that anticipated. If the actual loss is greater than the normal loss, it is known as abnormal loss. But if the actual loss is less than normal loss, a gain is obtained, which is known as abnormal gain or abnormal effectiveness. Like abnormal loss, abnormal gain does not affect the cost of normal production. The value of abnormal gain is calculated in a manner similar to abnormal loss and credited to abnormal gain account. So By this particular abnormal gain, we can understand here the margin allowed for normal loss is an estimate. So ಇದನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ estimate ಮಾಡಿರೋದು only and slight differences are bound to occur. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಣ್ಣ differences ಮಾತ್ರ bound to occur ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, that is between the actual output of a process and that anticipated. So if the actual loss is greater than the normal loss, if actual loss is greater than a normal loss, it is known as abnormal loss. But if actual loss is less than the normal loss, a gain is obtained which is known as abnormal gain or abnormal effectiveness. Like abnormal loss, abnormal gain does not affect the cost of normal production. The value of abnormal gain is calculated in a manner similar to abnormal loss and credited to abnormal gain account. So, in the abnormal gain account ಗೆ credit ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. And now coming for the next particular point, abnormal gain is the result of normal loss being less than the predetermined quantity of production. So the value of scrap realized shown against the normal loss in the process account gets reduced by the scrap value of units treated as abnormal gain units. So abnormal gain account is to be debited for the loss of revenue and normal process loss account credited accordingly. The balance of abnormal gain account being net abnormal gain, which is transferred to costing profit and loss account. So, in this particular concept of abnormal gain, we will come to understand that it is a result of normal loss being less than the predetermined quantity. So, predetermined quantity of production, the value of scrap realized should against shown against the normal loss in the process account gets reduced by the scrap value of units treated as abnormal gain units. And then what you will understand is the abnormal gain account is to be debited for the loss of revenue and normal process loss account credited accordingly. The balance of abnormal gain account being net abnormal gain, which is transferred to costing profit and loss account. So, by this, we will come to end of this particular session. So, the remaining part of your sessions will be part of this chapter will be taught in the next session. So, thank you.